morning. I'm Patricia Green Sotos of Gekko Yoga Meditation, and this is for my students who are not able to come to class during these extraordinary times. In the past, we've gone through how to build a home practice, but I thought I would put some of it down on video so that this can help you practice at home. I will be sending out to all of you the lesson plan. As you know, I use one every week, and it will give you a variety of poses to practice yoga. Remember, there's 8 branches, and 2 of them are ethical living, both internal and external, and 4 of them are meditation, and 1 of them is actually the poses. So if you decide to meditate, you can use, I like Insight Timer. I use that every morning. You can also use my meditation that I've put on for you, the grounding meditation. You can do just a sun salutation and a meditation, or you might do what I'm doing today, the whole gamut, or you might choose any part of it. Realize that whatever you do is still practicing yoga. So start off by doing your grounding meditation, and then generally we go into some kind of pre-yoga exercise. You can do dead bug if you like, but today I'm going to be doing what Scott Anderson calls towel work, but I will be using a belt, so we'll call it belt work. And unwind the belt. You can use a belt, actual belt, or you can use one of the old ties that are in the closet, anything that gives you a good hold, and that's about 4 or 5 feet long, I would say. So a little bit wider than the hips, starting down at the base. Remember, you're sitting or standing, but if you're sitting, you're rolling forward with your pelvis. Knees are lower than the pelvis. You pull apart. Notice when you pull apart, roll your shoulders back. Did you see that? Not forward when you pull apart, but rolling them back. Then inhale up to the 2nd chakra, which is between your belly button and your pubic bone. Exhale down. Inhale to the 3rd chakra, that's the solar plexus, right at the tummy level. Exhale down. Keep pulling apart. Notice the muscles in your back. Inhale up to the heart chakra. That speaks for itself. Exhale down. And then inhale up to the throat chakra. And exhale down. That's where you find your speech and your voice. And I go a little bit wider. Inhale up to your 3rd eye chakra. That's your eyebrows, your intuition. And then inhale up to the crown chakra, which is up at the top of your head, and exhale down. Keep your elbows straight. I've just bent mine so that it didn't make that clinking noise. And then inhale all the way up to the top, if you're capable. If you're not, just go to the level that you're able to. Keep pulling apart and notice what muscles turn on. Relax your jaw. Remember, you're grounded. And then, if you can, maybe open up the shoulders a little bit wider, and then bending your elbows to come down behind your head, knit your ribs when your arms are overhead, and then coming back down. And then you can put your strap aside, roll your shoulders out, roll your shoulders in, so in and out. And then we're going to make a box with our shoulders to get movement in our shoulders. So bring them forward and down, forward and up and back, back and down, down and forward, forward and up and back, back and down. And then we'll go the opposite way. So we're back and down. So back and up and forward, forward and down, down and back, back and up and forward, forward and down. Now can you make nice round, smooth circles using all of those muscles and really getting the shoulder muscles open. So external rotation is when you roll the arm bone back. Internal rotation is when you roll the arm forward. So external and internal. Whenever your arms or leg go in front of your body, it's external rotation. And whenever your arms or legs go behind your coronal plane, it's internal rotation. So we'll be using that today. Coming to your hands and knees. and getting ready for cat-cow. Moving through cat-cow, warming up, hands are underneath shoulders, knees are underneath your hips. As you come forward, remember to knit your ribs just 2 to 3% so that you don't overextend your back. When you come forward, I like, there's many ways of doing cat-cow. The one that I particularly like is using your sits bones. So watch what happens when I take my sits bones apart. That makes my pelvis roll forward, and it comes all the way like a domino effect into cow. And then when I take my sits bones together, the domino, it cascades all the way up my spine into cat. Watch that again. As you take the sits bones apart, my lower starts going into cow, and slowly it cascades all the way to the head. And then I keep the head and neck in cow, and I cascade from bringing the sits bones together into cat, and then ending with just a cat-cow. Taking the hands forward, curling your toes, and pushing back to down dog. In down dog, your knees are bent. Push the floor away from you. Reach your pelvis to the wall behind you. End of the exhale, bend the knees, look up to the hands, walk the feet forward. Inhale, lengthening the spine. Watch how I pull my fingers towards my heels. Exhale, fold the spine, pushing down to come all the way up and back to mountain. So in your home practice now, you might want to do a couple of chair sun salutations. I have that on a separate video. You can go and do that now. Otherwise, I'm going to do one demo of a sun salutation. Inhale, up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lengthening the spine. Exhale, plant your hands, feet step back. There's your down dog. In down dog, externally rotate the arms. Don't let them come up by your ears. You externally rotate, the knees are bent, and you reach your pelvis to the wall behind you. Next exhale, you come forward into plank. In plank, reach the heels back, reach the crown forward, and arm bones externally rotate. You can come down to your knees here and come down as a board, or you can try to come down as far as you're able to, then come to your knees and come down to prone mountain. In prone mountain, your fingers are below your shoulders. Ground your pubic bone, press down on the hands, pull back, and rotate the fingers out, coming up into baby cobra. Exhale, coming down. What I do in my normal practice is I do 3 sun salutations. The first one, I do Sphinx pose. So just to remind you what Sphinx pose is, elbows are under shoulders. Don't collapse into it. Once again, this is where your arm bone is in your shoulders. Push down with the elbows to come up, shine your heart forward, then knit your ribs to protect your lower back. Now in my case, I'm able to then, when I knit my ribs, bring my whole trunk off of the mat, and I'm all the way up. So this is a great place to just sort of start. Then coming down, the third sun salutation I do locust pose. So ground the pubic bone, push down, pull back with the hands. Inhale, coming up into baby cobra. Pull the heels towards your sits bones energetically to bring your legs up, and then taking your hands internal rotation because it's behind the crown. We often go 10 times with them thumbs towards each other, or 10 times going up. You choose which one you'd like to do and vary it every time. So that would be 3 sun salutations, 1 sun salutation. So go back into down dog from prone mountain. 1 sun salutation would be with baby cobra, 1 would be with Sphinx, and 1 would be with locust pose. Or you can do it like we just did. Bend the knees, look up to the hands, the other foot steps forward. Inhale, lengthening, exhale, folding. Pushing down to come all the way up and back to mountain. Then stepping forward to sumo, and go ahead and do sumo. You can go and look on I have a video on how to do sumo with action and resistance. We like to do sumo maybe 8, 9, 10 times. Sometimes we pull the heels back. Sometimes we move from the sits bones. Sometimes we use action and resistance. You do what works best for you. The next time you come down, raise your right heel, lowering 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Raise your left heel, lowering down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Press down to come up. Then I'm going to do a demo on the goddess flow. Left toes turn in, right toes turn out. Exhale to bend the knee, inhale to straighten. Remember this, your pelvis is at your 10 o'clock. The knee is at 12 o'clock, going directly over the center of your toes. Gently lifting your right hip headlight, turns on the muscles in the back. Next time you bend, pause here, hands to heart center. Relax your shoulders away from your ears. A little bit of pressure on your hands turns on those same back muscles that we did. Inhale up and out, then you can gaze out. Warrior 2. The general guideline is to hold a pose 5 to 8 breaths. We're going to go a little bit quicker because YouTube won't let me put up a longer video, so I have to go through quickly so that you can get it. With the next inhale, tip your pelvis, drop the forearm. Version 1, watch external rotation as my arm goes up overhead. Thumb to the ceiling, little finger down. Version 1, you can peek underneath. Version 2 is bringing the arm straight, up and back so that your fingers are going towards the ceiling. We go to version 2 and take your hand down to your shin, push into the shin and shin into the hand as you pull the thigh back and go into triangle pose. Really feeling that pulling your right thigh back into the sits bones, lengthening out the head. You can turn to look up. And that's probably 5 breaths. And then we take a breath resting on extended side angle and taking a breath coming up into warrior 2. Flipping the front hand, windmilling it up and going into reverse warrior. Opening it up. Really feeling that breath underneath the whole right rib cage. Then straightening the knee for standing gait. Knit your ribs. Arm down, feet together, sumo. We always like to do sumo or forward fold, some kind of symmetrical pose in between the asymmetrical poses. Now you can pause this now and go and do it to the other side so that you've done both sides. I'm going to go on to high lunge, heel toe, coming to the top of the mat. So in high lunge, remember, anytime the arms are forward, it's external rotation. Anytime arms are back, it's internal rotation. Mini squat, you can do that 4 or 5 times. You can add on action and resistance. You can pull your heels back to turn on the hamstrings. Then you come down, raise the right foot, stepping back. You're now in projected lunge. Let that back heel be raised. The hip rotates forward so that your pelvis is neutral to the mat. You might bring your hands to heart. You can also rest your hands on the thigh if you need that for support. Then coming all the way up, straightening the front leg. Rotate. Remember, that hip goes forward because it's behind my coronal plane, so it's internal rotation. Bring more weight onto the back leg, bending the front leg. As you go up and down, you can go slowly. Go with your breath. Exhale down, inhale up. Exhale down, inhale up. Next time we bend, pausing here, make sure your hip is rolled forward. It tends to go back. You can stay right here and pretend that right where your thumb is, that the great puppeteer in the sky is pulling up from the breastbone as you go into thoracic extension. Knit your ribs. You can also let your arms float up. High lunge with internal rotation of the leg, external rotation of the arms. Humble lunge, you come into projected lunge, hands come back into internal rotation. Then we transition to airplane. Push up with the back foot until all your weight's over onto the front foot, and then hinge at the hips, only coming down as much as the heel comes up. Maybe you can come all the way down into warrior 3. Make sure that hip doesn't open up. Make sure it stays forward. Then we all come with our foot down and forward fold. Inhale, lengthening. Exhale, folding. Push down to come all the way up and back to mountain. At this point, if you like, you can do a balance pose. You know, tree pose. Come to mountain. In mountain, if you roll your arms back, then relax your hands down. Your arm bones, upper arm bones, the humerus, is going to be well seated into a normal open place back into the socket. For tree, we externally rotate the left leg, or you can start with the right leg. As you externally rotate, ground that left hip back so that your pelvis is neutral. Hands can be at the hips or heart or up. Toes can be down, or you can lift the toes up and choose where you'd like to have your hands. Once again, a good place. You want about a 40% wobble of your standing foot, maybe 20, but not more than about 70. Because if you wobble too much, you're going to be falling down. You can always put the foot down to find your balance. And then off to the other side. Coming to the top of your mat, inhale up and forward fold. Inhale, lengthening. Plant your hands, feet step back, down dog. Remember, in down dog, externally rotate those upper arm bones, reach the pelvis back, nice length into the back. Then coming down onto your knees, uncurling your toes, big toes together, back to child's pose. Now, if your knee is giving you a problem, like mine is, you can use a block between your sits bones, and that gives you a little bit of support for a sore knee. Taking your hands over to the left side, right hand on top of left. Really letting your breath go, preferably 5 to 8 breaths, but I'm going to speed it up again. Over to the right hand, right side, left hand onto right. And then coming back to center for a breath. And then under your shoulders, coming up and making your way through to bridge pose. So you're going to come onto constructive rest onto your back. In bridge pose, your feet are up by your pelvis a little bit wider than your sits bones. Take your elbows, bend them, fingers towards goalpost hands, and then press down on the elbows to lift the chest, and then let the chest just rest back down there, and then put your hands back. Press down with your feet to raise the pelvis, then pull the heels towards your head. You see how that moves my body? And then reach the heels towards the head, and the shins and knee go over to the front of the mat as you raise your pelvis up a nice long line. As you come down, try doing it one vertebra at a time. Generally, most of us move in chunks, so just see if you can get those chunks to break up a little bit. I have major chunks in the base of my spine. And then once you come all the way down, let the tailbone uncurl. Bring your knees into your chest, give yourself a rock and a roll, and you can repeat that. But in the essence of time, once again, we're going to go ahead, find your strap. Take your strap and put it around the ball of the right foot. Then lengthen the knee. Give yourself enough strap until the knee is straight. One hand on each strap until your elbows are straight. I like to wrap the straps around. Notice knee is still straight, elbows are still straight. Extend the left leg out and down until I'm able to get the thigh down with the same effort as the heel. Then watch my arm bone. See how it's forward? I'm going to externally rotate it down towards the ground, and that's what pulls the leg back. And so my elbows are straight, my knee is straight, and I'm using the muscles in my upper back to be able to get the stretch of the back fascia line. Again, 5 to 8 breaths is good. Then you reach up again as you all take both straps into one hand. Watch my shoulder again. externally rotate. Do you see how that brings it? Remember we did that box? So this is back and up, and then back and down, and then you go out to the side only as far as you can go and still keep your whole left side stable. And again, maybe 3 or 4 breaths, maybe 5 breaths, coming up, reaching with the other hand and going across midline. Just a titch until you feel the IT band. Get a gentle stretch. See if you can relax all of those muscles around it. And then back to center, one hand on each strap, bending the knee, going out just a little bit more towards the side to get deep into the hip. And then release. And again, put the video on pause while you do the other side. After supine leg stretch, bend your knees, bring your feet up, and then roll over. You have 3 choices of twist. There's simple twist, but you should always do some kind of twist. You can do it before supine leg rest if you like, or you can do it now. We often will do simple twist at the end of class. So simple twist is sitting on a blanket or something. I'm sitting on a block rolling forward. And then you take your left hand onto your right. Right hand goes behind. It internally rotates because it's behind coronal plane. You look over your shoulders. You draw the ribs back towards the right to keep your lower back stable. And again, 5 breaths here. And exhale over to the other side. And then of course you go to the other side. And I won't stay here for 5 breaths, but I will at least go over. So now I'm looking over my left shoulder, lower ribs go back to the right. And then coming back to center. Other one is half fish. You remember half fish? You take a leg out. So let's start off with the left leg out, the right knee bent, taking the right over. You can either do internal rotation and then look over, or you can do external rotation and do the royal wave. And again, you roll your ribs back in the opposite direction with the next exhale coming back to center. And we've done clamshell twists so many times that you certainly know how to do that. Bringing the block between your thighs, rolling onto your left side, getting something for under your head, knees up by, and then inhale and exhale out. Make sure when you exhale out that you keep your lower ribs rolling back towards the mat, once again keeping your lower back safe. And then when you finish the twist of your choice, then you can go into Shavasannah. And Shavasannah, I have a tape where you can listen to the affirmations, the chakra affirmations, or you can just lie quietly. After 5 to 8 minutes, bend your knees, give yourself a rock and roll over to the side. Rest here as you have that transition, and then reach the top leg out, push up, and come back to your seated Namaste. I hope you found this to be, even though it's on the quick track, I hope you find it to be helpful. And please give me feedback or let me know if you have any questions. I'm home and available during this time of self-quarantination. Okay, Namaste.